Hi there, this is Jonathan Ginsberg. I'm a Social Security disability attorney. I take cases throughout the country. Today I'd like to talk to you about pursuing disability benefits if you've been a victim of childhood sexual abuse or sexual trauma. And I'll tell you, I've been doing this type of work for a long time, and I'm constantly amazed how many people I talk to in my practice who have had to deal with the repercussions of childhood sexual abuse, sexual trauma. And it can be, obviously, if you've been through it, it can be a very, very serious type of thing. And what's interesting, I think, to me is that many times the repercussions, the impact of this trauma may not be felt for years. In other words, somebody may have been abused for several years as a child, say from age 7 to 10, and then it won't be until age 45 or 50 or 55 that the trauma really starts to manifest itself in terms of problems with behavior. It could be alcohol or drug abuse. It could be problems with other relationships. It could be just behaving in an emotionally stable manner, poor sleep, any number of things. And I think there's some reasons for that, but it's not at all uncommon for the impact of this type of terrible trauma to manifest itself much later. And my experience has been that judges are usually pretty sympathetic to these type of situations because they understand that no child should be abused, should be physically abused, sexually abused, and that when this happens, it's going to have an impact. And it can even be something where if my client has had, for example, episodes of alcohol or drug abuse or promiscuity or behavior, improper behavior, let's say work anger control problems, this can be something that the judge can understand. This is why this type of thing happened. Now, what will happen is in a hearing, the judge is going to want to know how you're able to work, how you're able to get by for 20, 25 years despite this lurking problem in your background. And I think that's a question you've got to be prepared to answer. And sometimes it's a very simple thing. During the 20, 25 years I was raising my family, I was so busy working and trying to be a parent or dealing with whatever I had to deal with, I didn't have time to really think about it. Something else is I think sometimes people, when you're younger, you're more resilient. So a 25-year-old perhaps is a little more resilient both physically and psychologically than a 55-year-old. So sometimes it's just a function of age. Sometimes it could be a trigger. In other words, you may be going along just fine, relatively speaking, and kind of buried this terrible incident in the background, and then you see something. You see a movie, you read a book, you see a TV show, something on the news that reminds you of what you went through. Maybe somebody in your neighborhood or in your community has gone through the same thing, and it brings back this flood of memories. And that can trigger sort of an all-new episode of traumatic response. And the traumatic response, again, can be problems sleeping. It can trigger substance abuse. It can trigger anger management problems. It can cause fatigue and all kind of terrible things. So the trigger can be anything. It could also be a sound or a smell or a sight of something that could trigger this. So there's any number of reasons. My point, though, is that when you get to a hearing, you've got to be prepared to tell the judge, in your case, what was the trigger? Why did it take so long to manifest itself in such a serious way that you would not be able to work? Now, what I do in my hearings is, before a hearing, if there's a case of childhood sexual abuse, I will write a pre-hearing brief where I will describe in as delicate terms as I can to the judge in the brief what happened, so the judge understands this was a relative and this happened over a certain period of time and this involved X, Y, and Z activities, so that you don't have to testify about it, because I think that it's very hard to, in front of a stranger, and you're in a room with a vocational witness and a hearing reporter and the judge and an attorney you don't really know that well, it's very hard to talk about this without getting emotional, without doing so without kind of breaking down. So I try to take that out of the equation and make sure that I describe for the judge what's gone on in a pre-hearing brief. I also will ask the judge if I can ask leading questions, and they almost always say yes, where I will say, so I understand this happened to you, is that right? So instead of saying what happened, I will just confirm with you this happened, and that's called a leading question that the judge will most likely allow me to do. But then I will ask you how this has impacted you now, why did it take so long, what's going on, and how does this interfere with your capacity to work? And that's what you've got to really practice answering that question. That's something we would practice in a pre-hearing. But that's going to be mostly your job, is to answer that question, is why now and how does it impact me? And if you can do that, and I think if the record shows that you've sought treatment, and that is also an important thing, that you seek treatment with a counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, that you sought treatment, that you're trying to deal with this issue, that you're doing your best to get through it, but right now it's interfering with your ability to focus and concentrate and get through a workday without interruptions, then I think a judge would be very sympathetic to what you're going through and would be likely to approve your case. So that's why, if you've dealt with this type of thing, even if you have other problems that are more proximate that may make you feel that you're disabled, a bad shoulder, a bad back, if this is in the background, it's important to talk to your lawyer about it. And again, lawyers are going to be keep everything confidential. It's not a pleasant thing to have to talk about, but it's something that I think can be very relevant to a disability determination, and can also explain things that otherwise could harm your case, such as things like drug or alcohol use or other behavior that may not be otherwise understandable, but when you take it in context of childhood sexual trauma, then it could be more reasonably understood. And by the way, I mentioned childhood sexual trauma. It could also be other types of trauma. I've had clients who've had very, very bad marital relationships or relationships with significant others where things got abusive, and that can cause types of trauma. People in the military, it can be very traumatic, not combat, but sexual abuse in the military, which is a big, big problem. So anytime you've had any type of sexual abuse where you've really been, and maybe didn't get the appropriate treatment, if there is such a thing, back in the day, but if it's becoming manifest now, that would be something that would definitely be worthwhile including in your Social Security disability application. So hope you found this useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube and like it on Facebook and subscribe to our channel. And if I can be of assistance to you, please reach out to me directly. Jonathan Ginsberg here. Thank you very much. Hi, this is Jonathan Ginsberg, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to know more about how to win your Social Security disability case, I'd like to invite you to download my Secrets to Getting Approved Early Survival Kit that I created just for people like you. Currently, I'm making the survival kit available at no cost, and I encourage you to grab your copy now. Some of the topics I cover include: how do I know if I have a case? Is it the right time for me to file my claim? 9 common mistakes that can doom your case. The 3 must-have arguments you use to win your case. And a topic that every disability claimant wants to know: how to avoid trick questions from the judge. If you or a loved one need to win Social Security disability benefits, you'll find the Survival Kit essential reading. Download your Survival Kit right now and at no cost. Just visit ssdanswers.com/survival and sign up. It's that easy. Please act now. And as always, I wish you the best.